When you don't have 20 minutes to watch a full review, when you're not looking for a how to play or an hour-long playthrough, and let's be honest, when the interest is a little lower too, that's why we have 6 small box games for you. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today we're doing another 6 small box game roundup, or let's be honest, 2 of them are more medium sized, but we're going to go ahead and go through those 4 small box and 2 medium box roundups over here, giving you thoughts, opinions, how to plays on these 6 games. And of course, links and timestamps to everything down below. And the very last one I'll have a small little mini rant on because it's a good enough game, but there are some things that bother me about it. We'll get into all of those. But let's start off on a stronger note with Safari Witness from Wales Entertainment over here. And this is a memory game, and it might seem a little odd to say we're starting off stronger while talking about a memory game, but this does work. This works pretty decently as far as what it's trying to do, and it's an enjoyable little puzzle that escalates nicely as far as the players go. So let's go ahead and just give you a quick run through of how a general idea of how this game operates. In the game, you're going to have a bunch of face-down cards, and players on their turn are going to go ahead and add a card. So if we have the situation right now, I go ahead and I add a card, and I see this is Tom over here. Now I'm going to say we're matching background style to this card. Let's see what we got over there. Unfortunately, we didn't match the background style. We have slats as opposed to wavy lines. If I had said we're matching the animal, that would have been great. Alternatively, there's also the color and then the name. From these 4, it only matches the animal, so we put down Alex and Tom face down. Pretty straightforward. That's all you need to do over there. Someone else adds another card, and they say, hey, we got this Tom over here. Now, I'm pretty sure it was Alex and Tom, so I'm going to say that I can match Tom to this one. We're going to go ahead and say this matches to Tom, and look at that, we got these. These are going to be points for me. Next player comes along and they see this card over here. Oh, they know there's a pig over here, but they're going to go double or nothing. One of the things you can do in this game is you can go double or nothing. You can go ahead and reveal another one. Oh, we got a Kim. We have, this is tricky, you see, because we have color and shape style. We have names. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're matching the shape style to, we're going to say we're matching the pig to this one because we know we have to get that. We're going to say we're matching the shape style to this one, and unfortunately we aren't. Whole lot of pigs here, a whole lot of orange backgrounds, but we didn't match those. So basically you're trying to play this memory game where there's 4 facets of each card to match. There's going to be the animal, there's going to be the background style, the background color, and then the name. And then from those you can either do a direct match, you can do a double or nothing match where you have to get both or you lose your whole entire turn there. You can also do a challenge match where you have to get at least a minimum of 4. We go through as many as you want, trying to match different characteristics, going through those things, trying to find them. And then additionally, if you're playing in the true challenge mode, there's also special abilities you get when you match with the various names, so giving you even more things to go through over there. The game is a memory game, which I already said. Started this off by saying it is a memory game, and this very much is a memory game, but it's a memory game with enough things going on that I did find it fun enough. Like, it's a fun enough memory game. I do not like the box, by the way. This box is always falling off, and it's not... This is a box disaster waiting to happen as far as dropping your cards on the floor. But past that, as far as the game itself goes, it's a memory game that gives you enough things to do that it's a fun, challenging experience. The art is a little on the creepy side, may or may not work for you. Unfortunately, it's tricky with my kids because my kids really like this game, but they don't love the Five Nights at Freddy's style of art kind of going on here, which pulls them a bit away from the experience. And again, that's kind of more of a matching game. So I do like the game. I don't like the box. I don't like the art. I actually do like the art, but it's very polarizing in terms of what it's doing. Overall, for me, this is a 3.5 out of 5. It gives you enough things to do that I still don't feel like I've played it out. I feel there's a lot more things I can see and do within the game system. At the end of the day, it's still a memory game, but it's an easy to pull off the shelf memory game. That's going to be a Safari Witness, a 3.5 out of 5. Then we have over here, we have Dandelions from All Play. Dandelions is a game where, let's see if I can, so I won't be opening the box on all of these, but I'll show you what I can over here. Dandelions is going to have you listing out a little set of gardens over here. We're going to put these out, trying to match these in order, and this is not the neatest situation over here, but we got these little things over here, and then you're going to be rolling dice and assigning dice, trying to figure out how to score points based on where the dice land. So, for example, we're going to go ahead and put these down over here. Let's play a 2-player game for a second over here. We're going to have players rolling their dice, and then players are going to be assigning those dice to various spots. Let's go ahead and show you over here, so we can roll, and we have these some players over here. And so right now, I'm trying to get my dice to try to land on the 8 over here, because the 8, every die on the 8 is going to be worth more points. But you're not moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now, for example, maybe I'll go ahead and cash in a 3 over here, and I'll move 1, 2, 3, and put that die on this garden. See, there's a 4-step process over here where you're going to place the die wherever your thing ended. If you do ever end on a piece, you're going to bounce forward that many spaces again. You're going to bump like-sized pieces over here. So, for example, if I could have, let's say over here, for some reason I cashed and I went 1, 2, 3, then I can go over here and bump the die further. Although in this case, I don't necessarily want to, because bumping to an 8 is bad, and bumping to a 2 is not great for me either because it's a point more. And then players are going to score points both for the dice on various spots, as well as for area majority, whoever has the most dice in each spaces. So you're trying to figure out what's the right pattern of being able to roll your dice, of being able to re-roll your dice when you have the opportunity. There is a re-roll spot over here, of trying to figure out where you can actually go ahead and assign those things that'll get you in a way they'll get you the most points as you go through it. It's very much a roll dice, go ahead and march through the garden, plant your dice, see other players, and do all that better than the other players. It's a 2 to 3 player game. It's not going to have the chaos of a huge player count. It is very specifically a 2 to 3 player gaming experience, which gives you enough things to consider as you roll your dice, look at the options, and then try to min-max your way towards an ideal victory in this game. It's an okay game. I don't love the game. I think it's okay. I like the little puzzle of trying to figure out where your dice roll, but it never felt like overly compelling. It felt like you kind of looked at your dice, you did the best with what you had, and it felt very much like you were victim to what the dice had. Sure, there's definitely strategy in the game. There's definitely a degree of trying to be able to overcome a bad roll and seeing the opportunities to do that, and the game does have those moments, so you can be rewarded for that, but more often than not, once you got past the initial hurdle of learning the game and playing a few times, it really felt more like you're dealing with whatever your hand is dealt, whatever dice you roll, and it just didn't feel significantly competitive. It felt more luck-based than decision-based. Usually I find all play managers have a good compromise of feeling in charge of your own agency, and in this game I think that once you're playing against somebody else who knows how the system works, then it just comes down to the dice, unfortunately. From there we're going to have, let's go with a slightly medium box over here. Let's go with Surf's Up, and I don't know if I'm going to open this one over here, but I could show you the back of the box in this one. Surf's Up is a game which you're trying to gather things from the ocean as the wave brings them in, or in the case of bluebells, you're trying to avoid them. You don't want those negative points over there. The way you're going to do that is you're going to have energy cards, and every round you're going to be playing energy cards and revealing the energy cards, and then any players who played the same level of energy, those are going to be eliminated. So if you played the same number, you eliminate those numbers, which means a little bit of balance of trying to figure out how to play the highest number, but not necessarily the highest number. If you've played games like Get Bit or Las Vegas, it very much has that charm, that idea to it of kind of trying to figure out what the best thing for you is, but ultimately booting out the winner, the people who bid a little higher on you. In fact, this game I'd say is very similar to Get Bit in the way it operates. But ultimately, you're trying to gather cards primarily for the set collection or any other ways that they're going to score, and you're trying to manage your energy more efficiently than other players to gather or not gather bluebells as you go through it by just playing the energy cards you need, refreshing and taking those energy cards back, but making sure to time the whole thing out so that you get the best combination of cards. Basically, it's set collection with a bid mechanism in which the highest bid, those are all eliminated, and whoever's left has a chance to go ahead and vie for what's there. Overall, the game experience is totally fine. This is one of those games where I might enjoy it more if I weren't comparing it to other games that I think do it better, smoother, and cleaner. In fact, I'd say the rules in general, I thought the rules were a little fiddly for how easy the game actually is to teach. The rules felt overly convoluted. In general, I applaud them making sure the rules are clear. I think they may have been perhaps too clear, but ultimately the game experience was a fine one, but not one that I was overly pulled into. I think other games in the genre pulled me a bit more towards what they were doing. This for me is a 3 out of 5. From there, we're going to go ahead to Isle of Night. Again, one of the better ones over here. I don't think we have, not to spoil things, but I don't think we have anything that crosses a 3.5 out of 5 today. I think we're ranging from 2.5s to 3.5s today, but Isle of Night did probably get the closest over there. Isle of Night from Red Raven over here. It's going to be a 3.5, but I mean, if it's the closest one to a 4, it's got to be a 3.5. But the general idea of this one is, again, some degree of set collection, but with an interesting scoring mechanism that does make it stand out a bit more. You see, you're going to go ahead and pick an island pattern. Let me see if I can find my island cards in here. If they're here somewhere, they should be here somewhere, but here we go. Here's an island card over here. So we have an island card that's going to give you the island layout. This is going to define what the island layout looks like. You're going to gather these cards over here, shuffle them all up, and then place them down following that pattern. And this kind of tells you, whatever ends up creating this pattern, once you shuffle it up and place it into play, tells you what each of these things is worth. So for example, 3 butterflies are worth 2 points. And over here, 2 dragons over here are worth 3 points. And whoever has the most magic symbols gets 5 points. And this one also has some
extra ability text. You're going to have 3 different island cards for a total of 6 islands total, because they're all double-sided over here. Those give you different abilities, rules, things like that as far as the card distribution. But then after that, here's our other 2 island cards. After that, what you're doing is basically shuffling up these cards over here and then having players pick their cards. So players are going to be adding cards, going to be drawing 3 cards, adding it to a general pool, and then picking any one card type. So on my turn, for example, I go 1, 2, 3, and I sit there and say, you know what, I honestly want these dragons over here. Unfortunately, you can't claim the dragons unless you claim a sword. This is not going to help me that much, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the beetle over here. The next player goes ahead and adds 3 to the marketplace. So you can see the marketplace is going to slowly expand, and they're going to take 2 chests over here, which are just worth 2 victory points. Next player goes ahead and adds 3 cards to the marketplace, and you can go ahead and take these shells over here, or we can take the lanterns. Lanterns are going to be an endgame trigger. You're going to get a point for each of them, but when the lanterns are claimed equal to 3 plus the number of players, that's going to trigger game end. Or we could do den of monsters. Each dragon plus serpent pair gives you 1 victory point. That could be good because dragons are in demand, but serpents aren't even on the table at all. That's the general idea of the game. You're drafting cards over here. Some cards will have various magic symbols on them. Let's see if we can find some cards with magic. That's going to count towards the most magic over there. Other cards just trying to figure out the right combination of abilities, because you can always take 1 card type. That's all you can do. You take a single card type and then try to figure out each round as you add 3 cards and take a card type, trying to figure out what's going to score you the most points. What are you looking for? How can you rearrange the market over here and the scoring combinations? Because there are things you can do. You already saw some of those shells over there that can move cards around, which means if one player has built up a nice stack of things, you can try to find ways to tank them from being able to capitalize on those points based on the way you control the market. Isle of Night is a fine game. It ultimately gives you a decision space around how to figure out which cards are more important for you. My personal favorite are the Cursed Rings. The Cursed Rings are going to give you ways to get extra cards every round, but at a cost, because you're forced to draw those extra cards every round and discard those extra cards, which gives you another thing to be mindful of. Plus, the more of them you get, the more negative points you have in the game. So it's a little balance on that side of things. But ultimately, this is a game that's going to give you set collection of trying to gather various things based on variable scoring and trying to find the fastest way to get the right points slightly more efficiently than your opponents at the table. For me, ultimately, it's a 3.5 out of 5. There's not a ton of different things going on in the game. It still very much is on the lighter side, but if you're looking for a small box game that gives you a wide degree of point optimization, Isle of Night would have you covered there. From there, let's go to Xylotar. Xylotar, for me, is a trick-taking game from Bezier Games. Got to see a bunch of these at Origins and came back with Sandbag and Xylotar. Did not get to play Sears Catalog yet, nor Rebel Princess, but I did get to try Xylotar over here, and Xylotar, unfortunately, did not really work for me. Coming off Cat in the Box, which was a huge hit for me. I love Cat in the Box. It's an excellent trick-taking game. Xylotar has a different premise in play, where the general premise of the game is that you don't necessarily know what cards you have, you just know the relative order of those cards. So, for example, let's just go ahead and shuffle these up over here and just show you what's going on over here. Generally, you're going to go ahead and deal out cards to the players, and I'm just going to deal a small hand over here. You're going to go ahead and look at those cards, and then you're going to organize those cards based on highest to lowest. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and place the 7s over here. I'll place the 6, the 5, the 5. I'll place another 5 over here. And you could go ahead and order cards that have the same number with based however you want. So I could put the pink before, after the blue. And there are reasons you might want to do that, but I'm not going to focus on that right now because I want to keep you invested in what's happening over here. But we have over here, we have our relative order all laid out. I will move that 3 higher, so we're going to go ahead and show you why I did that. And then we're going to go ahead and pass these cards to the player on the left, and they'll go ahead and lay out their Xylotar. Now, the key thing to note is each card color is associated with a range of colors. And this is completely off screen because these Xylotars are huge over here. But so, for example, we see that our 0 to 9 over here is anywhere from 0 to 9. But we also see over here, we have this 0 to 6. Now, because this is a 0 to 6, looking at my table over here, I know that even though this has 0 to 9, this is 0 to 7, this is 0 to 8, and this is 0 to 10, they're all lower than 6 because they're to the right of the card. So your Xylotar starts giving you information, but it's more than that because as you look at other players' Xylotars and knowing the range of the cards of what can be in the game, you can start to very quickly deduce that I think you have the highest purple. I think you have the highest green. I think your green is likely to beat me. And then you combine the fact that you're going to go ahead and play a card from your Xylotar. You pick any one card, you play it, and you flip it up and you see what it is, and then players do have to follow suit if they're able to, unless of course they can play a trump suit. Well, if they don't have, they can break into whatever. There is a trump suit in the game. So you're trying to play a game of knowing or being able to accurately deduce what your cards are based on what you can see, but then also deducing other players' cards to force them to play in cards that no one really fully knows what's going on, but you are a little bit forced into playing those cards and operating on whatever the best decisions you can make as you go is. There also is a bidding mechanism where once doing a round, you can go ahead and grab 2 adjacent cards, pick them both, look at them, and put it in front of you, and that's going to be a bid of how many tricks you're going to win. There's no penalty if you don't. You just get a bonus 5 points, but that 5 points can be a big deal in this game. Ultimately, Xylotar is okay. I would argue it's a little less than okay for me. I think I put it at a 2.5 out of 5. And the issues are twofold. First of all, the bid mechanic in the game doesn't really disincentivize players from trying to play as optimally as possible based on the hand they got. I mean, to be fair, you always want to play as optimally as possible. But very often in these games, the bid nature of what you do in a trick-taking game stops the player from being too rewarded for a good hand, because it's not necessarily about the hand you got so much as what do you think you can do with this hand. They introduce the bid mechanic, but they only do so as possible positive points. So you're still incentivized to win as much as you can, but you don't even have the disincentive of, oh, well, if you bust, you're going to lose points. But more importantly, I just didn't feel the puzzle was that compelling. Xylotar is charming in his table presence, but ultimately it's a whole lot of cards being laid out, and you can usually pretty reasonably deduce what other players have, and more importantly, the times that you're wrong about what they have, it doesn't really feel satisfying so much as, oh, you know, that was almost certainly going to be the 7 of red, this time around it happened to be the 9 of red, but, you know, couldn't have known that. And so ultimately the game devolves into looking at the patterns, seeing what players' cards are, and almost always being right about those cards, which for me wasn't a satisfying enough experience. And then I think last on the table we have landmarks. And this one I think I do need to show you. It's a slightly medium-sized box over here, but I do need to show you what's going on because I'm going to rant about the game a little bit. And if it wasn't clear, that means I have some problems with it, because I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5, but with the caveat that I think that the rating's almost not fair. But there are things I don't like about the game that have me given the rating. But there are things I do like about the game that feels like the rating should be higher than that. But it's going to be a 2.5 because the full package deal of what the game is still has me frustrated by aspects of the game while appreciating other aspects. The generality of this game is you're going to be trying to lead, it's a cooperative system, you're going to be trying to lead your treasure hunters into a certain pathway. So for example, over here you're trying to lead them towards the exit. You're going to have a starting place, so you're trying to get them to the exit, but you're trying to get them to get the treasures along the way. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have a set of cards over here. In this case it's trousers, oysters, and serp. That's going to be your starting cards over here. You're going to put trousers, oysters, and serp. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and draw these out, just placing them for over here. And that's because you see these cards down here. Trousers, oysters, and serp. You see TSO. So trousers, and we're going to have serp. Ignore my spelling. I'm not trying to go fast over here. Well, I'm trying to go fast. And an oyster. Okay, so we have trousers, oysters, and serp. And now we need to go ahead and give our players a clue. We are trying to direct them. We don't want to direct them this way because that's going to be a skull. That's going to be bad for us. We want to direct them to the treasures over here. But that means we have to kind of get them to go over here right now. So what can we do for trousers and serp? Mess isn't good enough. Sticky's not good enough. Long. Trousers are long. Serp's not long. Serp's not long. From a tree, no, because trousers aren't from a tree. Pants, kick, energy, jump. Does jump work? I don't think so. Change of clothes. Can I even do double awards or triple awards or whatever it is? I'm just going to go ahead and do messy. Let's just do messy, okay? For whatever reason, no, oysters are messy. Trousers, serp. I don't want to spend too much time on trying to figure out what the perfect clue is. But let's say I come up with a perfect clue. Let's just say I did change. Okay, because you change your trousers, and maybe you did so because of a mess. So the serp that, I don't know. Maybe it's good enough, maybe not. And ultimately, you as the players, go ahead and I give the clue change, and you have to figure out where to put that clue, okay? So I put down change, and then you say over here. Great, awesome, you figured it out, and I say nothing happened. Now you do have water. Water is your reservoir of tiles. That's a limiting factor over there. Again, you can have these death spots over here. You're trying to get to the exit. You can have these spikes over here that'll deal damage to you, and they can deal more damage to you depending on other things you've gotten already, but ultimately trying to get you over here. Now the problem is now we have the word change, and I want to give you a clue that relates to change. Not change and trousers, not change and serp. I've changed the landscape over here by putting this card down, pun not intended. I need to give you a clue that just relates to change. So I'm going to say difference, because I think difference just relates to change and not any other combination. And you're like, I agree. Okay, and this is where we start getting to things I don't like about the game. Because I'm trying to convey to you that you want to get to these treasures over here, then to this treasure down here, and then to the exit. So I write difference, which is obviously change is the only word, but now there's two possible words here. It could be here or here. There is nothing to convey which one of these spots it is other than blind luck. So you might choose here, which is what I wanted, or you might choose here, which is what I didn't want, but ultimately that element of clue giving rapidly disappears because so often in the game you are forced to choose between two spots, even if you did correctly deduce what the other clue giver wanted you to guess. And I don't like that at all. The other thing I don't like in the game, I haven't even talked about a general review, I'm just getting directly to things I don't like. The other thing I don't like in the game is the fact that in the game, the actual rules say your goal is to get to the exit, period. That's all it says. Except it also says, well, maybe you'll lose sleep over the treasures you didn't get along the way. Which to me is a terrible way to structure the rules. An absolutely terrible way. Tell me that I need the 3 treasures to escape. And you can also say, if playing with younger players or gateway players, feel free to adjust the number of treasures needed. Or even give your recommendation for easy, medium, and hard. The fact that the game kind of gives you a, hey, you just escape whenever you want, and by the way, there's treasures. You don't have to get them, but you might have a hard time sleeping. That's a fixable aspect. I don't like that one bit, make no mistake. That's at least a fixable concern in the game. Versus the idea that when you give clues in the game, the entire premise of the game is about can you give a clue that relates to one card or multiple cards in order to best direct your players. And the fact that so often in the game, you have to go with a 50-50 guess, that means it's no longer a game about the clues. And yes, you can say as a player that you can say, well, even if you go in the wrong direction, I still have to know when I can take those risks, and you might choose wrong, but then I can still redirect you, and now we have more information, so I'm still playing within the ecosystem and the structure. You could make those arguments, and players who enjoy this game more might well do so. For me, it feels that the mechanic of the game is those guesses, and I felt that the experience the game provided did not make those guesses feel satisfying because of that 50-50 guess. Ultimately, the rest of the game is fine, though. The rest of the game is more than fine. It has word combinations, which I generally like games that have word combinations. So Clover, Codenames, all that. And so I do like that here as well. I just think between the end game how you win, and then the ongoing process of constantly being wrong through no fault of your own, that to me ultimately soured me on the experience. So a 2.5 out of 5. And that's what we have over here. That's going to be your 6 small box game reviews. We have a 3.5, a 3.5, a 3, 3, and 3, and then a 3, 3, and a 2.5, and a 2.5 over here. So a nice roundup, I guess, 2 in each category. 2 in each category from going from 2.5 all the way up to 3.5. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.